I think part of the reaction you see and hear is just the enthusiasm and the energy about knowing that we can bring everyone to the table and win in 2020. My responsibility is to make certain that the job I run for next is a job I intend to do for a long time. And the reality is a Senate job is a 6-year job at the very beginning, at the very least. And it's not a job I thought about. And so I really wanted to be intentional about thinking through what that would mean. Running for president had not been on my timetable this quickly, but the energy and, again, the passion that I'm feeling means that I have to give it serious consideration.
Part of my interview with Stacey Abrams just a few minutes ago when I asked her the question on everybody's mind, is she running for president in 2020? Joining me now, Marc Thompson, host of Make It Plain with Marc Thompson on SiriusXM. Tiffany Cross, co-founder of the Beat DC, and back with me, Jason Johnson. All right, let's talk about this for a second. I did ask the obligatory question, Marc, you got to ask, right? And what she said was interesting because she didn't say she's not running. She didn't discount the idea of running for Senate, but she did say it's a job you'd have to do for a long time. She's like, if you run for Senate, you're in there, right, for minimum 6 years. And then here is what she said. I'm going to play one more little soundbite about 2020. Are you tempted to say, you know what, let me move my timetable along and just go ahead and jump in and run for president?
I am very seriously thinking about it.
It sounds like she's more thinking about president than Senate.
Yeah, and first of all, great interview, and thanks for having me. That's true. From her words, it sounds like she is more thinking about president. But what I also took away from that is that she has the luxury of time.
Right.
She can either be a candidate or she can be a kingmaker or a queenmaker for that matter. And I think that's exactly right. There are enough people running now that others who might be thinking about coming into the game off the bench have the luxury of thinking about it. There's a pro and a con, though. If Stacey Abrams were to run for president, then obviously there are other members of the Democratic Party that are going to support other candidates. So she won't have the universal support. I mean, she'll be in competition with other Democrats. But if she remains, and as her book said, leads from the outside, and becomes the queen or kingmaker, then she will have the support of every Democrat and build the base necessary to make Georgia absolutely blue in 2020 and beyond.
And, you know, and Tiffany, there's been this, you know, all the stories of the pressure that Chuck Schumer and that the DSCC is putting on her, on Stacey Abrams. They seem to really just be sort of trying to push her to do it. But she made it clear that she doesn't feel anyone can push her to do what she doesn't want to do.
Not even jump in the presidential race so early. I mean,
right.
She said, look, that's the media's timeline that has, you know, made this a 4-year race. She said, I can get in September if I want to. I applaud her for that. I'd also say she's already a king or queen maker. I mean, she raised more than any candidate in Georgia. She has this huge list of assets from donors to volunteers. I mean, these are things that would benefit any candidate, really. And I think she resonates with voters in a way that a lot of other candidates don't. We were all at the National Action Network conference this week. I interviewed a lot of the attendees. Everybody resoundingly said, I connect with her. I love her. When she talked about her debt, when they tried to make that an issue, and she talked about...
Oh, she talks about it in her book very openly.
Oh, I haven't read the book yet. Forgive me, candidate Abrams, but I haven't read it yet. But I'm looking forward to it. But when she talks about that, and she says, I could delay, you know, my debt, I could delay student loans, but I could not delay cancer treatment. Well, that resonates with black women. 80% of black women are the dominant breadwinners in their households. So, and they're obviously, like you pointed out, the backbone of the Democratic Party. The path to the White House leads straight through that group. But this is where politics becomes a blood sport, because Senator Kamala Harris was one of the first people out there for Abrams. She hit the pavement for her. She and Cory Booker have been friends forever. Elizabeth Warren campaigned for her. So this is where you have to decide, you know, am I ambitious enough? The people want me, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game, I'm getting in it. Or will she say, I'd rather be a supporter to these people? I'm eagerly awaiting with bated breath, like the rest of the country.
And not only that, but she's also friends with people who are also considering running for Senate in Georgia, because she's not the only person that's considering it.
Yeah, so first off, Joy, it's interesting, because I watched that entire interview. I've seen tons of interviews with Stacey on this network and other different shows. That is the epitome of unbothered. She looks the most relaxed I have ever seen her relax, because I would say, you know, between Michelle Obama, Oprah, and Maxine Waters, this is like the 4th most powerful black woman in America right now. No insult to you, but this might be the 4th most powerful black woman in America.
That's real.
And she has all the time in the world. And look, whether Sally Yates or Teresa Tomlinson or anybody else, I've liked the fact that Stacey Abrams has made it very clear. It's like, look, I'll be Team Democrat.
Right.
I'll be team everybody. And that is an important thing. When you have someone who's got this much power and this much influence, she is willing to spread that influence to support anybody who wants to run. And I think that's the best way to operate. And here's the thing, whether it's presidential or Senate or something else like that, even with the numbers, right? The polls show to get into the first Democratic debate, all you have to do is be at 1% in 3 polls.
Right.
She could join in 3 weeks. She's going to hit more than 1% in 3 polls.
Absolutely.
So she doesn't have to join anytime soon. And I don't think she will. I think she is going to lead from the outside, and she'll be much more influential traveling around the country in 2020 than she would be running for Senate.
I mean, in the same way that Barack Obama was very smart about that in 2004.
Yeah.
He used his celebrity because he had a pretty easy race. You know, he had Alan Keyes running against him. So he had the luxury of blessing everyone else, and she could do that. I know.
Right, exactly.
I know.
But I just want to point out, listen, Stacey Abrams has garnered this kind of national support and enthusiasm despite the media. I mean, when you remember when it was all about Beto, you know, all of them had lost the race, but the media, because a lot of the decision makers look like Beto, and so they, you know, related to him more, and they made him this, you know, breaking news banner and this storyline. Stacey Abrams, imagine had she had that same amount of coverage. She was able to command this despite the media.
By herself.
By herself.
And the thing, too, is that you saw with the Beto phenomenon, this idea of Texas, which is a very difficult state for Democrats to win, put forward as the thing that Democrats could win, the prize they could get based on even having come close, where Florida, where Andrew Gillum was also sort of set aside as a potential, you know, national figure, and Georgia, these are the 2 states that Democrats actually spent a lot of money trying to win.
And again, if Georgia can be turned blue, which it almost is, she will be a hero.
She'll get the credit for it.
Yeah, for all time. And as Tiffany was saying, the road to victory, the path to victory, leads through the black women electorate. And it's high time that we are seriously considering a black woman, and a black woman being in such a powerful position, because black women have been the most loyal. They have toiled more than anyone else in this party. And so this is a very important moment.
And we just learned that I believe that Andrew Gillum's team has just sent out the sort of confirmation that black women were the highest percentage turnout voters in the state of Florida in 2018. And so I want to go back a little bit to the conversation we were having earlier, which is that the add a black woman thing is so what people seem to want is a white male at the top of the ticket, full stop, whichever one, pick a B, right? Put one of the B's on there, and then add a black woman. And the idea that Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris would be that additive, there's something about that seems a bit demeaning, because either of these 2 women has the right to run for president.
It's not something, everything about that is demeaning. You got a bunch of mediocre white dudes who some haven't even won anything, who are running for office. And this woman, look, and I'll say it, Stacey Abrams wasn't going to say on something, she got robbed. Okay? She got robbed. If you don't have a fair election, then the person who lost
ends up robbed. And the bank robber got the job.
Exactly. And the bank robber got the job because he was also the security guard. So at the end of the day, you know, she's always been in a position. The thing I worry about, and it's not just what Tiffany said, you know, she's got loyalties to a bunch of different people. A lot of different people owe her, she may owe him. I don't trust Tom Perez. I don't trust that the Democratic Party is smart enough to know what to do with Stacey Abrams, so I'm happy that she's demonstrated this much agency, because it was left to the DNC. They will not realize how to use her effectively. I promise you, Stacey Abrams is just as effective going into Iowa as she is in Florida.
They'll just try to use her in the South.
Yeah, they think she's only going to connect with black people, and I can tell you this, having done that campaign work and followed in Georgia, she is just as popular down in Savannah and the low parts of the state as she is in Atlanta.
I don't know if it depends just on the party, though. I think in this age where people can become their own media, essentially, that the DNC only has so much influence and control. I hear you. I mean, they definitely would be wise to place influence and support. Stop making that face at me, too. They would be wise to make to put influence and support there. But I don't know if it's solely dependent on that. And just to point out about, you know, women being the top of the ticket, I don't know that that's exclusive with people who don't look like the people at this table. I think there are still a lot of us who feel like white is right. We are the predominant person saying
black people.
Yes.
This is what I'm just talking about. Let's just talk about what black people are saying. And when we were in Iowa, when we went to go and do the interview with Kamala Harris, what you hear is Kamala as the VP with Biden, or Stacey as the VP with Biden, and that's from black people.
Well, but all of us as black folk must remind ourselves that in 2007, nobody thought, many black people didn't think, I should say. Most black people think Barack Obama had a shot.
That's correct.
And, you know, because of, you know, what happens to us and some of the mental chains of slavery, we don't believe in ourselves. And then when white voters validated the black candidate in Iowa, it flipped overnight.
Right, yeah.
And so we need to remind ourselves, I think it's still that feeling. I don't know if we can really do it.
Even though Barack Obama did it.
I don't think it's that we don't believe in ourselves. We don't trust white folks. And we have no reason to. Go back to James Baldwin. There's no reason to trust. Historically speaking, there's no reason to trust that white voters will collectively and consistently, it's the Bradley effect. They say they're going to do it, and then they do something else.
Can I say this about white women, though? In terms of they had a black woman, I'm hearing from white women who feel some guilt and shame for what happened with the 53%. And if that holds and that's true, they're not going to be afraid to vote for a woman or a black woman at the top of the ticket. So I don't think they're going to go for the add a black woman either.
We'll see. We shall see. Marc Thompson, Tiffany Cross, Jason Johnson, great panel. Thank you very much. And coming up,